part 2. There's a sequel, and the sequel, social commentary, but again, it's like, to me, the first, like, I saw the social comment. It's a black film. I definitely know what the social commentary is. But for me, it was just a movie about grief and letting go, like going through the process of that. That hit me more than the social commentary. Duh, you got blacks and indigenous, like, the Mexicans and Central American, the South Americans. Like, come on, I know the social commentary at the top of that. Duh. But, like I said, the social commentary continues. You know what I'm saying? And it gets deeper. And I wonder what the third one would be, because for this one, it was about political ideals and what change can look like, right? On some Martin Malcolm shit. One radical, one not as radical, or not radical, let's be real. One is about collectiveness and working together and using and showing said resources to be hopeful to what the future can be without racism. And then the other one is like, yeah, nah, we just got to get rid of them. Like, if you really think about it, like, that's what he's about. Like, it was just like, yo, we about to start war with the world, and we're going to be on top. And being on top, what it is that people have to die. There is no such thing as a non-violent revolution. And that's radical, right? Death, war, destruction. That's how you really get change. Like, let's just look at history. That's how you get change. The idea of how we're going to get things changed through diplomacy, democracy. I mean, in a sense, has it worked? Yes. But even those things require some sort of revolutionary push. You know what I'm saying? Like, people voted before civil rights. Those were white people. It took civil rights and all these things for us as black people just to vote, right? So now we could participate in democracy. But look at what we had to go through. It was violent. The movement that we were following, well, again, some people, not everybody was following Martin Luther King and during these times, but we saw the footage. We know what was going on. We saw what the state did to its people. I don't give a fuck about black or white. The state holds down black Americans. The American state sent dogs on other Americans, black Americans, its own people. So we had to fight for that. There's no change without fighting. The women's movement too, right? Took a lot of organizing. It was the same thing. It got violent. You don't get no friggin' change without violence. And Killmonger was just like, well, let's just go to the source of the fucking problem and eliminate it. I mean, I'm leading this and I'm a tyrant and what I say goes, and that's what it is. And that's messed up. But the man was going to make change for people that look like me. I think he was going to not only get change, but we collecting on the debt that's old, bruh. There's some equity out here. We about to get that. That's ours. And we about to be on top. And we going to kill whoever's in our way. Ain't nothing going to be in the way no more. And I can say, as a person who lives in the world that's opposite of that, there is a lot of things in the way. A lot of things are in the way. So how can I be mad at Killmonger? You know what I'm saying? How can I be mad at that? The social commentary continues. Part 2. Here we go. Quick synopsis. As we know, I think it was last year in 2021, we lost Chadwick Boseman. Rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman. Yeah, Marvel understood. I think no, it was either 2020 or 2021. It was either a year or 2 years ago. But rest in peace again to Chadwick Boseman. After he had died, Marvel said they're not going to reprise his character out of respect, which I think they shouldn't have. They're not going to recast. They're not going to do anything like that. And they showed that in the film. T'Challa dies mysteriously of a disease. Kind of, it's lining up with Chadwick Boseman. He kept it from everybody. He suffered in silence, kind of like Chadwick Boseman. And when it was time, it was his time, and his family buried him. The nation mourned. His sister Shuri, she's grieving. Mom's grieving. Everyone's grieving. And the thing is, the movie starts out where it's, Wakanda does this. The last thing T'Challa does is have the Wakandan outreach, where he's using Wakandan resources to help communities in different countries around the world. But this is the world we're talking about. The global capitalist society order of the world. And it opens up with some people trying to steal vibranium. And the Dora Milaje stopped that. Okoye and the Dora Milaje make sure that don't get, said resources aren't getting stolen. And Queen Ramonda, who is T'Challa's mother, Shuri's mother, she's like, yeah, so y'all talking about, because she was at the UN and white people were white peopling, as they do. And they're telling them, like, yo, like, what is good? Like, Wakanda is like a threat to the world and such. And y'all got this vibranium and it's powerful. And this is a potential threat to us. And she's the gangster that she is. She's like, oh, I'm the threat. Bring him in. Homie, yo, they bring in the dudes that tried to rob the vibranium, and she looks right over at Fred. You know what I'm saying? They're hired mercenaries, so they don't work for no country. They just work for hire, right? They work for countries, if hired by them. Looks over at France and the United States, and he's like, well, it looks like I'm not the threat here. It looks like somebody is the threat trying to steal our resources for whatever power or savagery they want to exercise. I am not quoting the movie. I'm just letting you know what was said and what was implied. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you what was implied and just showing the ass backwards contradicting powers in place. And the reason why I'm getting hyped up is because this type of shit happens every day, all the time. It's been happening since the beginning of all of this bullshit. Where for some reason the people with the most precious and valuable resources are the savages. Yet the world isn't ran by them. And the people who exploit these people are civilized in a fucked up savage world. Ain't that some shit? Somehow we're the savages, but it's cool. But we're getting back into we go back to Wakanda. Shuri is, she's grieving, but she's like I feel like definitely something I did, and some people do sometimes, is they do not go through the grieving process, right? Where it's just like they dive themselves into something. They dive into work, or they dive into certain things, and they're dealing with guilt and pain and rage and all these other things. And you know, she's like, hey, let's try and recreate the heart-shaped herb. And she's like, no, because this traditional crap is like the reason why we're here. And we ended up in this place. And Wakanda don't need no friggin' Black Panther. It don't need no heart-shaped herb. What it needs is technology, because that's the only thing that's going to keep us safe and keeping things forward. And she's like, you know what? I hear you, but I'm your mother. So we're going to go and we're going to do some things, because it's been a year. It's a year today that your brother died, and we are going to take a walk. And before I even get to that part, there is a incident that also takes place where the CIA and the U.S. Navy or whatever, I don't know, I don't remember, but they're like underwater looking for vibranium using this machine built by some American scientist that tracks vibranium, and they're using it in the ocean. And then they get attacked by a bunch of blue people who come out of the ocean. They're from there. And one of them fly. His name is Namor. Can't even do it right. Namor. Namor is the antagonist in part 2, Wakanda Forever. He's awesome. Let me not get all over the place. Cut back to where Shuri and her mom, they're by some river lake thing, and they got a campfire going, and they're just talking, mother and daughter, and she's like, yo, it's time to, this is the end of the grieving process. And she's like, no, it's not, because like I'm still in pain and I don't understand, and I'm angry, and I don't want to burn these garments. I want to burn. They're doing some traditional Wakandan stuff, so it's like you're supposed to burn the garment that the day of the funeral and all this other stuff. And she's like, I'm not burning nothing. What I want to burn is the world. That's what I want to burn. And then in that instant, Namor pops out of the ocean, and he's like, hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Namor. I have an empire underwater that y'all don't know about until now. Yep, I snapped past your Wakanda defenses. So that don't mean nothing. And people are trying to steal vibranium from me, because you aren't the only one with vibranium. As you can see in my stuff, all the jewelry around. So all the jewelry around Namor was all vibranium, and they're like shocked and confused, like, yo, what is going on? Like, what? How do you have vibranium? We only have vibranium. But Namor is like, I ain't trying to hear all that. You know what I'm saying? This is what y'all going through. Since y'all decided to, this was y'all's doing. This is y'all's doing. I'm going to tell you why. Because you decided to have some Wakandan outreach, and you're showing the world what vibranium can do and all this other stuff. They're now curious about it. They want to do what they always been doing. Kill us and exploit us for our resources. Not happening. Not happening. I have a whole entire people and nation to look after. Not happening. I'll even get into why he even takes it personally. And he's like, look, and don't try to challenge me. Like, this is what y'all gonna do. Y'all gonna bring me the American scientist so I can kill her or kill them. And that'll be the end of that. And, we'll be an alliance, and, we don't have to worry. We just gonna have to stick together, because we know the world is coming for us now that they know vibranium and what it can do. So they're like, all right, there's an issue, because clearly the world is after us. We share something in common, even though we don't know you. We don't know what you're capable of. You got past our defenses, all this other stuff. And lost my train of thought. Oh, I'm back. Sorry. And so yeah, Shuri and Okoye cut to a Shuri and Okoye. They track down who the scientists of the, who built the machine that tracks vibranium. They track them down, It's a student at MIT. Her name is Riri Williams, and she is a genius, kind of like Tony Stark. And she's 19, and she did not build it for any government CIA situation. She did it for a project for class, and they stole it. And she didn't get nothing for it. She didn't even know where it was at. She was like, "Oh, I just made that junk for class. I didn't, they said it wasn't gonna work. They said it didn't work, and clearly it does. They exploited her, and they took, a young, brilliant mind, exploited them for their own gain. White people, and yeah." And now this is causing, conflict between two nations, two of the most powerful nations on the planet, and the rest of them who think they powerful. The only connections the Wakandans have in the U.S. government is Everett Ross, the CIA guy from Part 1 and Civil War. And yeah, he's just one of those human characters that kind of connects things in the thread of the timeline of the MCU. And Everett Ross is a friend and ally. It's not a friend, but an ally to the Wakandans, only because they saved his life in Part 1. And during this time, Everett's trying to cover for them with the CIA and the government while they try and Okoye and Shuri in Boston getting Riri to go back to Wakanda, because they weren't gonna bring. Once they found out Riri Williams was a scientist, genius, all this other stuff, but she's not a threat, they were like, nah, we can't let Namor kill her. Like, that's wild. Like, we can't let that happen. So they're like, yo, we got to bring her back to Wakanda. They failed to do so, and Namor and Namora, I believe that's either his queen or sister, I don't know, princess, I don't know. They didn't really get into her too much from what I remember, but yeah. So here's the thing. Namor is a mutant. Listen to what I just said. Namor's a mutant. He's the only one of his people who could fly. He's the strongest. He commands the water. And what else can he do? Yeah, he's just like he's a god to them. Right? He could breathe without. So that all of the what are they called? They're really Atlanteans, but they call them the Talokan. They need masks with water on them to breathe, and they're blue once they're out the water too. So their physiology is different from Namor's. Namor is the strongest of the physiology, and they managed to one of the warriors managed to take down Okoye. She loses both Shuri and Riri Williams, and the Talokans take them back to their nation, right? Which is in Yucatan in Central America. Okoye goes back and she's like, look, my queen, I failed. The queen's pissed because her son's dead, daughter's dead or missing, could be facing possible war not only with the world, but then this new country with this new dude with wings on his feet. He's scary, yo. He got past the defenses. And he got vibranium. Like, what do you want me to do, yo? It's crazy right now. It's crazy times. You messed up. You're demoted. So she fired, like, that. You could say she fires Okoye for being the general in the Dora Milaje. And she decides to go to Nakia, who is in Haiti. I think she's, like, running a school in Haiti. And, by the way, sak passe. A lot of Haitian symbolism in this movie, which I love too. Yeah, get back on track. So she goes to Nakia. Nakia is like, yo, I need your help finding Shuri. She's missing. You know how to infiltrate into countries and nations and such and such. At first she's like, I don't know, but then she's like, well, no, that's Shuri. I'm family, but we're gonna make this happen. I'm gonna go get her. During this time, Shuri's on her politicalness with Namor. She's like, yo, show me your country, Please don't, let's find a peaceful way to do this. We cannot kill the scientists. We can't do these things. And Namor is like, you know what? We're alike. We're more alike than you think. And I'm gonna show you what's up. I'm gonna show you my nation and see why I have to do what I have to do. And then he also explains who he is. So Namor is about a couple of 100 years old. He kind of tells the story of how Talokan became Talokan, and this is during the time of pretty much Europeans coming over here and fucking shit up, Spanish conquistadors and such. And during the time of his childhood and his mom, because he ages slow. That's why he's a few 100 years old. His mom died, and he buries his mother. And what he sees is just the enslavement of his people and the extraction of resources and just the true history of the world today and how it got here. And so he was on some Django shit, and he killed all of them and he burned them down, and they called him the son of the devil and Namor. That's how he got his name, because his name is Kalkukan. Well, that's what his people call him anyway. And he he's like, yeah, I understand. I'm older than you, and I understand how things work. And you have to be ruthless and vicious, and at all costs protect your people. At all costs. If people gotta die, people gotta die. That's why he's like, yo, I gotta kill the scientists, because hell no, I'm not. That's not happening. Not on my watch. Slavery, all the exploitation, get that shit the fuck out of here. He's seen it firsthand. He's seen the true nature of it, like the source, the seed of what the world is today. He's seen it. He's witnessed it. So he's like, nah, we gotta make shit happen. I'm looking for an ally. And he does some real gangster shit. He's like, yo, and if you're not gonna be my ally, you in the way too. I will fuck Wakanda up, is what he said. Basically, that's not what he said, but that's what he said. Basically, like, look, if we don't join forces, I'm gonna fuck you up. And in that time, he's called to go to Wakanda, or not to go to Wakanda, but he's called to go to see Queen Ramonda, and she's trying to be on some like, look, you can't kill that kid, man. It's a child, and da da da. And she's basically saying, look, like I'm like, we just not agreeing. Namor's like, all right, we not agreeing, bet. Okay, we not on the same page. During this time, Nakia sneaks into and rescues Shuri and Riri and takes them back to Wakanda. During this time, one of Namor's, I guess, servants or somebody, Namor, one of his citizens get killed by Nakia. It's Wakandan, and pretty much it's like an act of war now. Now, Talokan versus Wakanda. Shuri makes it back to Wakanda. Big, Act 2 fight. Namor and his people, they get into Wakanda, flood that bitch, fuck some shit up, and Baku gets the biggest, hardest punch that he's ever felt in his life. And the Wakandan city is not destroyed. It's not destroyed, but it's under attack. So they decide to go flee to the mountains, to where the Jabari will give, it's like a refugee situation where he's like, look, we got to figure out how we're going to handle this, because clearly this guy ain't playing. And during this time, Queen Ramonda is killed. And Shuri is now the queen. And Shuri and Nakia like, look, you're the queen now. And she buries her mother. And M'Baku gives her counsel. And Nakia and Shuri like, yo, let's try and recreate the heart-shaped herb. Let's try and do it. I think Shuri comes to the realization, like, you know what? I'm out of fucking family resources. I gotta figure out something to take down Namor. She recreates the heart-shaped herb, She goes into the ancestral plane. Who does she see? Her cousin, Killmonger. I love this scene. Because I didn't expect, when I first saw it, I didn't expect to see him, but he was there. And I was like, all right, cool. It's my nigga. Let's go. Right? And the reason why is because she's like, he kind of breaks it down like, yo, daddy ain't shit. Your mom got killed. Your brother was too noble and too soft. So what you gonna do? You try and handle business like your cousin? So it's like he was talking to her, like, she's like, I want to be strong. Like, she's like on her Wakanda shit. He's like, oh, word, cousin, word. You on his Oakland shit. I love it. Anyway, she comes out of it and she's like filled with vengeance and rage. And then she's like, oh, there's this epic ass bit where she's like in the Black Panther suit. Yes, Shuri is the queen and she's getting the Black Panther shit on. And it was dope. I enjoyed it. I'm not even gonna get into the commentary about, you know, the whole stupidity of, oh, they're demasculating it and they don't want the black man to be black. Shut up. But yeah, Shuri's Black Panther, and she's like, yo, I'm the queen. I run Wakanda. We are going to get to Namor, and we are going to do it outside of the country. We're going to go into the ocean. We're going to go into his territory and get shit popping, bruh. I loved it. I love that. And it was just dope. It was dope to just see like the final battle, in my opinion, was kind of like like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like, you know, these movies, they especially the Black Panther series, they don't have like big epic endings in their final battles. But it was cool to see, like, you know, Okoye there, Nakia, they were fighting on this big Wakandan ship, and Namor and Riri and Shuri, they all managed to get to Namor. And there was a moment in the fight between Shuri and Namor where she could have killed him, and she didn't. And she's like, yo, we have to come together. And they did. And, you know, the movie ended, the true ending of the movie was more like an ode to Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace. And we also find out Shuri's an auntie. What? Did Nakia and T'Challa have a child? Yes. Is it a son? Yes. What's his name? T'Challa? Yes. Is there another Black Panther? Yes. Yes, there is. So there's no, all these other dudes out here talking about, yo, they're like demasculating the black man and taking our superheroes away from us. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. They literally in the same film said, yep, black women, we're going to put you on. And first of all, they're feminine centric, these storylines, by the way. Go read a fucking comic book. But they literally made the Black Panther a woman, and at the end they're letting you know that there's already another male Black Panther. So just shut up. It's literally the Black Panther's son. Shut up. Now, the movie ends where she's on the beach and she's thinking about they show like different shots from the older movie and stuff like that, and it's just Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, and it was just, you know, a beautiful ending. And that's Black Panther 2. Longer than the first synopsis, but I don't care. So I think I touched on like the social commentary a bit already. There's a lot of political symbolism and all of that, social commentary, whatever. I touched on it already. So the topic question that I'm going to get into is how radical are you? Like, how radical are you in the sense of wanting change, getting shit done? Like, how radical are you? Like, politically, socially. Like, how radical are you? Because we just had an election last week, and we are exercising our right as Americans in a democracy that was also caused by a revolution where people died and blood was spilled and war happened. And things are still fucked up. Things still ain't equal. We live in a capitalist society where it's a very oppressive. It's unnatural. A lot of people are living in fucked up states and unnatural states, and it's due to the greed of others. And both films kind of showed that, especially with part 2, where the greed for not only just money, but like the greed and thirst for power, because this small little nation and a group of black people in the continent of Africa have the strongest metal on the planet. It's a threat to y'all. Wasn't a threat until this nigga literally was a part of saving the world, and somehow it's, you know what I'm saying? And they're showing that, right? They're showing that the United States and they're showing it, and it's like, it's and then there's also the symbolism of like, black versus brown, the indigenous versus the Afro person, where it's like, we in the same shit, bruh. But the whole thing with skin tones and geographical location, and literally we have the same, like the vibranium just represents resources, precious resources that enrich a whole other group of people that ain't got shit to do with it, and what they do to people like me and you. It's the same shit. So the bullshit between us can't keep going on. Granted, there will always be bullshit amongst groups of people, but when one group of people literally have the same enemy, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Like, really, like, what are we gonna do? Because we in the same conditions. They exploit us the same way. They fuck us up the same way. But we just look different. Our culture is different. Yeah, man. It's how radical are you? I'm radical to the point where it's like, Namor is not a villain. Yes, it was black versus brown. I don't care. In the for argument's sake, in this, for conversation's sake, Namor is not a villain. Killmonger is not a villain. These, like, honestly, that they represent what is. In an ideal world, we want to be the Black Panther. In an ideal world, we want to be T'Challa. You know what I'm saying? In an ideal world, that's how things would operate. That's not how they are. Namor was going to kill a 19-year-old girl to save his people. In hindsight, in the grand scheme of things, would it stop anything? No, because they already stole her research. We could talk about how the U.S. government stealing from black people, brilliant black people, just stealing shit. Not even the option of like, hey, we'll buy this from you. Hey, we'll put you up on an offer. Hey, let's invest. Take that shit. For the sake of power and greed and money and shit, like, nah, like, Namor ain't wrong, fam. You have to, sometimes being on the offense first works. It prevents a lot of shit. Like, I'm not mad at going as far as doing some heinous savagery shit for the sake of making sure peace and savagery in the current state of the planet that we're in today. Killmonger talking about, yo, we're going to be on top. Why? Because we're old. Why? Because we're in an unnatural state currently. I am not nonviolent. I am not against that. we could say that's not my first option. It's the last resort. But I'm also, sometimes, maybe that is the first option. Maybe it is. You get what I'm saying? Like, it sucks. It's crazy. Like, it's sad. But like I've said in other podcast episodes, we are not this civilized society. We're sophisticated savages. Keyword being savages. We're still savage. Why not just embrace it? Move the fucking sophistication out the way. Let's fucking be all we can be. You know, like, I am not non-violent, bruh. Sometimes when you got to get shit done, you got to get shit done. And we call it radical, and sure, yeah, it's radical. You know what else is radical? The fucking conditions a lot of us are in. That shit is radical as fuck. And what's crazy is, like, a lot of people don't even see it or don't know about it. But it's why shit is fucked up for you. Shit is not fucked up because that shit is designed, bruh. That shit is designed. We know that. It's not, it's just a coincidence. Certain groups of people do worse than others, better than others. Like, the fuck out of here, fam. No, that shit is unnatural. That shit is designed. That shit is not that shit is not natural. That shit is man-made. Therefore, it can be destroyed. It can be destroyed. You want change? You gotta destroy some shit. You want change? You gotta break that shit apart and build it to your image. That's what change is. You gotta burn some shit. You gotta tear some shit down. People are gonna die. There is no such thing as a non-violent revolution. People are going to die. People are going to get hurt. There's going to be mass casualties for the sake of the future, for the sake of hope. Saying, man, I'm saying there's, you know what I mean? Sometimes it just takes, like, look, just go to the source of the problem and eliminate it. If that's what's radical, sure, I'm a radical. I guess I am radical. I'm not that. Here's the thing. Going back to the question for real, like, I'm not that radical because at the end of the day, I'm not going out either killing or dying for my beliefs or ideas, right? And that we could talk about that at another time. But yeah, tell me in the comments, man. Like, what did you think of the movies? And if you had to say, like, you know, ask yourself that question, how radical you are, you know, tell me your answers in the comments. Let me know. But this has been another episode of the JP Show podcast. It was a pleasure. Look out next week for my next episode. I may keep it light this time. You know, I think I did romance. I did horror. The horror one was actually a funny episode. I think you guys should go back and watch it. I did, doing romance. And I think I might blend the two, maybe the three, because the last movie I watched that I really want to talk about, it's comedy, romance, social commentary, violent as fuck. But it's one of my favorite films from the 90s. I think I'm gonna talk about that. But yeah, thank you guys, and see you next time. All right, bye-bye.